What up, Random Rockers? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. First, thoughts from...
I thought it was great.
Well...
He's a better judge on it.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I never had a chance to review the first one, and if I did, I'd have been... As far as the story is concerned, with volume, if we're comparing Volume 1 and 2, which is what's going to have to happen here, in fact, I would recommend you'd have to see Volume 1 before you see Volume 2. Or else it's not going to click at all. Or at least you'd have to have completely immersed yourself in it, or given enough of a damn. I give a certain damn about the characters, and there were some moments in the movie for the first that worked, and it did have a bit enough basic story structure to help itself out, lend itself out. This one was just, for story structure, was all over the place, and it relied solely on the characters and their interactions, specifically, because Gunn didn't want to wind up making the same exact movie twice. If anything the same, it was how the characters were, and how then it came to the action and the humor. And they tried to overdo it, and if for me it didn't hit. I know I'm gonna get shit on for it a little bit, but it just didn't hit for me at the time, and it really needed to do so, because when I came back from a crappy retreat, and I needed something to get me out of my funk, and it didn't do it. I'm sorry, it didn't do it at the time. But when I had a chance to clear my head and look back, I somewhat enjoyed what I had a little bit better. But for some reason, I still got that same feeling coming out of the theater with this one. Except for, oddly enough, the credits themselves were more entertaining than the movie itself. Even more so than the first. There's a lot more going on in it. I mean, just... But in this movie, Yondu from the first, I forgot the actor's name, but I mean, he was one of the few things in there that would show up a lot. And now we got not only a lot more humor and a lot more action, and somewhat more action, I guess. But we got a lot more Yondu, and well, I gotta get to spoilers by that point, but we're not there yet. Gamora was fine. I mean, they tried to further, once again, develop on the characters themselves. The Sovereign were just kind of there, and they're annoying. And the biggest purpose they had was a post-credit scene. I am not going to get to that later, but most of you who are fans will know. And there was a two-time, and to make up for what happened with Logan, I guess, you do get two times the same kind of sort of scene, just done differently. Stan Lee cameos. One within part of the movie and one at the very end. And that scene was... that scene itself, I mean, is maybe a huge implication into what we might get later. And... oh my god. Wow, with that, but also, like, the most useful thing the Sovereign had, it was also that post-credit scene, and before we get, I mean, but Dave Bautista, dude, well, he's not The Rock, we understand that, there's a difference, but when you at least try more, man, especially the more dramatic stuff, like, when you actually, like, give a show a certain level of depth and actually act like, at least when his character acts like he cares, from like a more dramatic standpoint, it's fine. But when it comes to his comedy, he's kind of hit or miss. A more miss than anything. It's like, come on, Dave. It sucks that when you finally thought maybe if you went back to doing wrestling, you'd wind up having the same thing The Rock did. No, you're not that charismatic, dude, but I'd like you at some point to prove me wrong. I mean, for this role, it worked, I guess, but this is a take or to leave it. Rocket was fine. I did like there was those moments, especially when Yondu, when it comes down to it, Chris Pratt, for sure, Star-Lord. Kurt Russell had pretty well his ego, who turns out to be, which you already know from the trailers anyway, the Star-Lord's actual biological father. And I love the fact that they did make him out to be, even though Ego's technically just a living planet, he's not a member of the Celestials. Which I guess I am getting into spoiler territory with that, but not fully. Not fully here. I'll just hold off and talk more about that when we get to that. But Gamora was fine. Nebula was just there mostly for Gamora, and just to kind of develop her character more, and in turn, her character developing Nebula. And we get more understanding through this about how much of a shithead Thanos is, in order to understand how much of a what we need to go off of going into, and far more into, Infinity War for the next Avengers film. And I was hoping we would, I guess, I'm gonna already tell you, there's no there's like, if there is, it's a small little thing that proves, if anything, it'd be stupid not to have them involved in it. You'll understand what I mean when I get to it. And honestly, at this point, overall, I gotta go. How do I do this again? Usually I don't. Usually I'm used to just doing thumbs down or this, or the usual normal thumbs up in this. But trying to do this with one hand is very difficult to do. So it's it's gonna be a shaky video, people. Deal with it.
There we go.
I'm sorry, but I'm just like, it's kind of, I'll give it like one of the, it's gonna be one of these guys. It's thumbs up. It's not a full, I can't give it a thumbs up even, but it's not necessarily mixed bag. I'll say it's somewhat entertaining. I just gotta give it one of these or something. I mean, I know it seems a screwed up system, but if you're trying to be original about it, I mean, it's the best I can do. And yeah, guys, I enjoyed it. There are some things to enjoy. I sadly found the credits far the most entertaining and the most nerdgasmic parts about it. The little cameos thing, especially the Stan Lee cameo, was probably the biggest cameo he's ever done, because he did it with these characters twice, and I think that was just his excuse to make up for the Logan thing, and they didn't do it with the Deadpool little thing they had before that video, and which sucks. It sucks so bad, but this made up for it big time, especially the cameo of what characters he was with. Which I believe, I'm hoping, I wish you pulled out your phone right now for this, but we can check that in a minute. Just let me know when we get to it. But the spoilers are going to have to come up now a little bit in 3, 2, 1, go. There's a reason why Yondu is in this movie more times to the point where you think it's his own movie, is because you don't see it. We're not going to see him anymore after this, guys. He gone. And it, honest to God, sucks ass. Because he really fucking shined a lot in this movie. And it's like, it made you wish you had more of him. And he would have stayed around. And I almost thought for a minute, yeah, they were going to do it. And then it's like, I could see that scene being like the most laughed at, how I'm waiting for how it should have ended to do something with that scene, and read my fucking mind and everyone else's mind who's seen this and be like, why the fuck you do it? It's like, you could have found a way to save yourself and him and Peter. Come on. But It'll make it more worth it. I was with Sean Gunn's character. I forgot the name of the character he played in this, but apparently from what you've told me, he used to play a certain character in a show called
Gilmore Girls.
Yes, and it's good to see someone from that cast, I guess, is getting some work outside of Melissa McCarthy, apparently, so that's nice, I guess. Of course, it also helps that your brother is the director of the damn movie, and he's far more popular than you because of the last film. More so that, and Slither, and all those kinds of things, but my God, and how they handle him, especially the scene with Rocket, basically tell him how it led up to him telling him how much he knows how he is, because he's pretty well the same, he's just as much like him, and to find out that it was kind of because he was experimented on, or at least he might have been an actual raccoon experimented on into what he is, I guess. Groot was interesting, especially when he was still cuter, and then when he became and then he started to get that more annoying in that post-credit scene when he was with Peter. The only thing funny about it is, like, now I understand why Stan Yondu felt dealing with my shit. that was funny. That was just brilliant. That was brilliant. But I mean, the Stan Lee cameos. Whereas, I believe, the Watchers. I believe that's who they were. If not, there's some other character. I know I recognize them, but I just couldn't tell you who the fuck they were. Who exactly. I'd say it's the Watchers. They look like I think it's them. Because there's one that was on the moon. So, moon a few times I've seen the Avengers stuff. Even those silly little cartoon scenes. And that's another thing about this Volume 2 here. It's very cartoony. In places. Especially, and some far more, I guess, than the first film. Kind of does go overboard, I guess, but it works, I guess. And the Baby Groot thing, I didn't fall for that shit. I could see how what the target demographic is, the younger audiences and all that. Or some ladies who have a thing for tiny, small things. So.
I just like repeating his line, that's all. Mm-hmm. It's not my favorite character, I just thought that line just gets stuck in my head. Yes. You cannot use this against me.
Yeah. The Sovereigns were annoying, but the best useful thing that they've had is pretty well the reveal in this post-credit scene. We are getting, potentially, hopefully, he won't be turn into a full-fledged villain and eventually become part of the team in Volume 3, which we know James Gunn is working on. Or at least I know, you probably know. More you know. And that will be Adam Mother Effing Warlock. It's going to be enjoyable. And the other scene that was a huge thing is that Sylvester Stallone's in this movie. I'm trying to remember the exact character, but him, all these other people that were involved in Ravagers, all those guys were technically the original portraying the original comic book characters that made up the original Guardians of the Galaxy during like the 70s or 60s or whatever, before we had the Star-Lord and Gamora and all the characters we've come to know now. So that, to all the true Guardians of the Galaxy fans, this was a nice little tribute to you, which was nice, which was cool to see. I'm glad Gunn did. He knows these characters. That's the one thing this film has, and he shows that off. The biggest thing, and one of the biggest reveals for me that did hurt me, that sucked, that once they made out Eagle to be really the big bad guy, and that's the Sovereign were just this throwaway bullshit, which is, I think, what they were leading into. They were like, oh, we don't want to do something with Sovereign, and they just kind of decided to turn Ego up and make him a villain. Of course, Ego was kind of sort of a villain anyway in the comics, but he was just a living planet. Instead, he's a Celestial, which is a big top-tier, like, god-level power thing, like, almost even powerful than Thanos, actually. So, in fact, it might have been take Thanos and that Infinity Gauntlet to probably take any of them down. And that's why, which helps make sense in Volume 1 of why Peter Quill was able to handle one of the Infinity Stones, because he's a Celestial. Or else, because any normal person, it would have obliterated them. So, yeah. Well, and then finding out the biggest thing that just fucking, like, made you really understand why it fucking hurt. And where it really made you go for Star-Lord the whole way. We're already on board with Star-Lord. Even since the first film. He was like one of the few characters that you had to go on board with. And they still are this ragtag group of misfits that are just doing this. They're same Alex again. Of course, same cast people, even the voice work. Even Vin Diesel did Baby Groot. Even though really when it comes to Groot and the cuteness and everything, that's all James Gunn. That's all James Gunn. And that scene again... What happened to his mother is that she had cancer. As those of you who've seen the first film. We find out Ego put the tumor in her. He's the reason why she went through all that and why Peter had to watch her die.
That was a surprise.
That not only surprised me, that was the thing that made me it wasn't even the bones of all the others that he had bred with to try to get another one of them. Because he wanted to not be alone in that regard. Just for selfish reasons, really. And that pissed me off. And made me understand once he finally manned the fuck up. In that one scene later when they were trying to blow him up. And Drew the bomb thing was funny. A lot funnier than they made it, because there are a couple scenes like you hearing Peter in the background asking everyone else, "Hey, you have tape?" It was great. That was great. That was funny, but that kind of did piss me. That did piss me off. That was the whole time, and it's like you're kind of like by that point, fuck Ego, he's got to go. And it sucks that, now how the fuck's he going to be able to handle those Infinity Stones if he's going to help the Guardians out in Infinity War? That's what's going to suck about this. It's like, you did this, and now you kind of took away any good trump card you had of beating Thanos. That was a huge, what the fuck were you doing, Gunn? I think that was another thing that was like, that could have been helpful as fuck. Unless maybe he still has some of it in him, that he could still utilize the stones. If not, it's going to just destroy him and obliterate his body. I don't know how they're going to handle that. We'll see how it happens with Infinity War. However, there's a lot of little nuggets, things of other things that were happening in the movie that helped with the post-credit scene and that made it funnier. Because the entire thing is almost like a yearbook, the way it's done. And certain moments, certain scenes, they have I Am Groot highlighted on for certain parts of the credits, and then it's what it actually means, which was funny. But the thing that really hits me is that there's a small scene where you see the Grandmaster, played by Jeff Goldblum, who we all know is going to be, from the trailers for Thor Ragnarok, is going to be in it, which further confirms Guardians of the Galaxy Guardians will play some part, possibly post-cred, if not in the actual movie, for Thor Ragnarok, which makes even more sense why tonally it makes sense for that. But again, what are your thoughts on it?
I thought it was good, but I don't know as much about it as you do about the Guardians.
I don't know them as well either outside of the movies myself, to be honest with you. But I just know enough from what I've heard, I guess.
I only remember a little bit.
And it helps having one of your buddies, my tall buddy Charlie. Yeah.
So to me, I thought it was good. I just enjoy action scenes. I thought it was all good.
Well,
the little thing is a comedy, so I was pleased with it all.
Yeah, I'm at least glad that somebody did enjoy it far more than I did, and I was hoping to have that, and that's why it's good to have you around and, add in a little extra perspective. And I'm sorry if the camera is shaky. I'm trying to hold this one hand and hold a conversation at the same time. Not the best thing, but maybe I can fix it with YouTube. We'll see what happens, if I even bother. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks guys. what did you guys think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I know it's a mixed bag for a lot of people. I understand why it's a mixed bag, but I can still see how there's plenty of enjoyment in it, even if the things that most people enjoyed, I may not have enjoyed, other than Star-Lord or Yondu, which were one of the bigger things. But other than that, guys, yeah, leave a comment below, like this video, rock that like button on this video with thrust if you must. Also, like and follow me on Facebook, at www.facebook/random rock and roll reviews. I should always have this it down in the description. I have Google Plus. I don't use it really that much, so I guess that don't matter. But as always, and other than that, as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. And I will more than likely see you next video, which will probably be the new At the Drive-In. I was hoping to get it this weekend. That didn't work. Weddings. You gotta prioritize, I guess. So, take care, y'all. See it at your own discretion, I guess. It's a Marvel movie. Doesn't matter. It's always gonna be fun.